in an emergency meeting right now, considering their options. Plus, minority in parliament is tonight challenging President Akufo-Addo to intervene as UTAG considers its options following this court order.
This situation should be squarely placed on the doorstep of the Akufo-Addo and Bawumia-led government. I know the mood in UTAG. UTAG is not going to budge until something substantial is done, is put on the table.
We have the very latest, including the outcome of that emergency UTAG meeting, which is still underway.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone and Prime Insurance. Rest assured, you are insured. After 36 days of a deadlock, an Accra High Court has today ordered striking university teachers back to the classroom. In the last couple of hours, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAC, have been in an emergency meeting considering their options. The court was compelled to issue the order after two previous directives to UTAG, government and the National Labour Commission, NLC, to resolve the issues out of court failed to yield any results. UTAC is demanding better working conditions, including a $2,084 pay for entry-level lecturers. The protracted strike had left university students across the country stranded. The minority in parliament have today been calling for a shutdown of the universities and challenging the president to personally intervene. So will the teachers comply? We'll hear from UTAC shortly, but first I want to speak to the NLC, which of course dragged the teachers to court. Ofosu Asamoah heads the commission and joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Ofosu Asamoah, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story. Hello, Mr. Asamoah. Okay, we may have lost him there, but we know that UTAG has been in a meeting on the back of the UTAG, on the back of the order from the court today, and they are considering the options. One of the options, obviously, is whether to appeal the court's decision today. Two previous directives that had been issued in the last 2 weeks had all failed because just yesterday, UTAG was telling us that government had not reached out to them with any proposal or call for a meeting on the issues that they had put forward. Only today in Parliament, we've been hearing from the minority side, and they are clear that the position of UTAC on the back of the order of the court should determine for government and the university themselves how to handle this. They are clear that the way to go is for the universities themselves to shut down, and they want the president to intervene. Let's bring in the NLC's head, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah, who joins us now. Mr. Asamoah, I'm grateful that you could join us on Top Story.
Yes.
So give us the details of what really transpired in court today.
Yes, I was myself. The court had both parties, that is, we, the applicants, and UTAG as the respondents. And afterwards, delivered this ruling that it opposed the application of the National Labour Commission for an interlocutory order to direct the UTAC striking lecturers to call off the strike, return to the lecture room, and then negotiations, as has begun with government side, to continue. However, the substantive application before the court, that is the enforcement of our directive, is to be heard from the 22nd of February.
And that substantive case is exactly what?
That is also to get them to adhere to the directive of the National Labour Commission. And it is not too different from the interlocutory application, I must say.
But fundamentally, what you've asked the court, which the court agrees with you today, is that the court should order them back to the classrooms whilst you continue to talk.
That is so, which the court has directed.
So you expect the teachers back into the classrooms when exactly, tomorrow or immediately?
As soon as practicable.
Okay, so that then introduces another, I guess, possibility. When you say practicable, practicable to who? Who's
Practicable.
making that judgment?
The court has given a directive, and like I said earlier, in their own affidavit, right, responding to our application, they in one of the paragraphs they said if the court so directs, they will have no option than to go back to the class lecture hall and teach. In their own, so the court has upheld our application. So what is left is to go back to the lecture hall and teach.
The question is when from what you sat in the courtroom. So is it today or tomorrow morning?
Well, from today, I must say, once the court has directed, it's from today immediately.
I mean, that information is so critical to parents and to teachers. Sorry, to
Yes,
parents and to the
lecturers
students.
were there. Their executive members, the national executive were there, about 16 in number, and other interested parties were there. Their counsel was there with 2 other lawyers, their lead counsel and about 2. And they all had the judge right. And in a like manner, the ruling is also been typed out so that if anybody did not hear it, you can read it as well. By tomorrow morning, I think it will be out there.
So you expect from the NLC's point of view that as soon as tomorrow morning you expect the lecturers back to the classroom?
That is so.
Okay.
You see, this will have to be communicated by the national executive to their branches, and I think, and on to the lecturers. And some of the students may have gone home at this time, of course, which we are all aware. Some of the lecturers too will not be around. You see, that's why I use the word as soon as practicable. Word will have to go for both parties, both the teaching and the learning group, to put themselves together for activities to start. So that is what I believe.
I mean, as we speak, I can confirm to you that the university lecturers are still in a meeting with their lawyers, considering the options. All indications are that it's not the fact that you've had the order now for them to go back to classroom doesn't mean that they will. One of the options they're considering is to take this up on appeal, which means that they would ask for stay off execution. Another possibility. All what they are telling us on this meeting now, they are considering all
Well,
these
the
options.
meeting, as you say, I am not privy to that. And if I gather from you rightly, the meeting has not ended. So, but if they will not comply with the court order, it's between them and the court. We issued a directive, they did not comply, we went to court, and the court has re-echoed it. So, I'm sure their counsel, you see, lawyers, we are called counsel because we give wise advice. So I'm sure they will be advised properly and do what is right. I don't think that they are not really happy with their continuous stay on strike. They also have children there. And, you know, they are lecturers. They like the job. I mean, profession they have chosen for themselves. I don't think they are happy. The most important thing they want is for government to agree to giving them what they are demanding. And I think that the strike has really drummed home enough what they really want. And it is not the length, the further, continuing of the strike is what will, I think, really let government know or hear what they want. I think that they have done enough.
I mean, the court ordered, directed twice that they should be resolved, try and resolve this out of court. I mean, the lecturers were telling us yesterday, live on the same network, that there hasn't been any real honest attempt, either from your side or from government side, to even comply with that court's directive to try and resolve this out of court.
You see, National Labour Commission is not a party to the negotiation. We are not government. We are an independent arbiter. So when people say from our side is to provide a vehicle or means of facilitating the negotiation between the UTAG and government. We are not a party to the negotiation or the settlement. We only provide a means and make sure that during the negotiation or whatever process in resolving the matter, parties adhere to the labor laws or any other rule governing negotiation, mediation, arbitration, or attempt to resolve the matter between parties.
So, as a referee in the middle, the one side being the teachers say, with the court directives twice, and that is a total of 2 weeks, they say the other side, the government, just didn't want to sit and talk at all. They seem to be playing a delay tactics, waiting for the court's order, which has come now. Is this something that you agree with them on?
Well, if that was what they were waiting for, the court has now handed it down. And like I said, in their own response, they say they will comply. And I expect that they will comply. You know, they are honest people, and I think that they will live up to it.
But have these negotiations been fair? Have both sides been fair to each other? I mean, has government been fair to the lecturers in this matter?
Excuse me, what did you say?
Both sides in this matter.
Yes.
Have each other been fair to each other? I mean, have they been fair to each other in dealing with the root
I
causes?
cannot say.
You can say.
I am not in there.
But clearly nobody's shifting. It's like both sides have taken trench position on this. Nobody has moved at all from everything we've heard.
You see, a new dawn has come, which is today. So now that the court has now stamped this foot down and given a directive, let's see what happens. Let's not refer to the past too much. Let's take the good side and hope for the better.
I'm grateful, sir. That is the NLC's executive secretary there, Ofusu Samwa, telling us, of course, their own expectations. They had dragged the UTAC to court on the matter. They've secured that court order today, directing the university teachers to go back to the classroom. The university lecturers themselves are now in an emergency meeting with their lawyers, considering the options. But in Parliament today, a member of the leading member from the NDC side on the Education Committee in Parliament is clear that the President himself needs to intervene in the matter.
It is a very worrisome situation for good reason. We have had first year students who have reported to school. It is past 3 weeks. They are yet to be matriculated. They have not received their course outlines. They don't even know their lectures, lecture halls. They don't know their lecturers. They don't even have their reading material in terms of reading lists. And yet, their parents prepared them, financed their transportation, paid for their accommodation. Those who couldn't get on-campus accommodation, their parents had to pay exorbitant prices to get them into private hostels. And academic work has not been going on. But I have said that this debacle, this situation, should be squarely placed on the doorstep of the Akufo-Addo and Bawumia-led government. If Bawumia's intervention last year, which resulted in the university teachers calling off their partial strike, was something that was pursued in terms of the assurances and guarantees given, then UTAC shouldn't be on strike today. But UTAC has made it very clear that they feel underappreciated. They feel that they have not been taken seriously. And they feel that their issues have not occupied the attention of government. And the only entity that can bring this to a resolution is government. Then the vice chancellors of our public universities should do the needful by letting the young men and women go home.
You mean they should shut down the university?
Yes, well, what is the point of being in a university when you are not being taught, wasting resources? And in fact, many of these young people are being exposed to risk that we can't even begin to imagine. I am sure you remember the story where a first year student drowned at the University of Ghana. That is what we know. What other dangers are these young men and women roaming around on our campuses, literally doing nothing, facing that we don't know? So, as a former member of UTAG, and indeed a member of the Education Committee of Parliament, I know that the parliamentary subcommittee would be meeting the feuding parties on Thursday this week. But whether or not the issue will be resolved by our intervention, I doubt, because it has to do.
You don't doubt your capabilities of resolving this matter?
Well, we can only recommend.
You are the committee.
We can only recommend. That is why I'm saying I doubt, because we don't carry the public purse. The public purse is carried by the executive, and it is the executive that UTAG has labeled as not taking them seriously. So we can meet, we can talk, we can recommend, But we don't have the
But you
power
can persuade them.
of giving
You can
effect.
persuade UTAG
How
to
are
return
we
to the
going
classroom.
to do that?
The lecture halls, the students you see are exposed to dangers.
We
UTAG
cannot persuade UTAG to return. UTAG will decide if it decides that government has met its demands or has given assurances that it can be comfortable with. I will not be a hypocrite. I don't think the committee will be a hypocrite. We all know that this is the doing of government. And if the vice president himself was involved the last time, why is it that we are not hearing his intervention? Why is the president himself not intervening? In fact, when we were in government, under John Dramani Mahama, I know of instances where labor groups, including UTAG, felt aggrieved for issues not that different from the current issue, and they were engaged directly by the powers that be. So we will do our best. But I tell you, because until long ago, I was a member of UTAG. I know the mood in UTAG. UTAG is not going to back until something substantial is done, is put on the table to address their needs.
But if you know the committee's intervention will amount to nothing, then why are you even meeting in the first place?
Well, we need to hear them out.
As you just heard there, that's Dr. Clement Park, by the way, with the Education Committee. He himself a former UTAG member. As he indicated, the committee is planned to meet with the parties as they attempt to resolve this matter. He himself joins us now on the back of the developments we've been learning about from the court over the last couple of hours. Dr. Park, I'm grateful that you joined me on Top Story.
Evans, it's a pleasure to be with you on your program.
You just heard the details. The court has now ordered your former colleagues to head back to the classroom. The NLC is expecting that to happen as possibly tomorrow morning. Does that change the plans that your committee already had to meet the parties this Thursday?
Well, the court has made its pronouncement, and for all intents and purposes, one would expect that on the back of this, UTAG would have to meet. Remember that UTAG is a labor union that has members. So they perhaps would have to meet with their lawyers. They perhaps would also have to meet with their members to assess the situation and then decide the course of action. It is one thing for the court to pronounce that they ought to call out the strike and go back to the class. It is another thing whether or not they will do what the court is saying that they should do.
I almost sense from what you say that you are confident that UTAG will not comply here. They may choose to appeal.
Well, I wouldn't want to jump the gun. So they are in a crunch meeting as we speak. And I'm sure before we all go to bed, the likelihood that there will be a response from UTAG will be one that we would all be awake to see. For now, our committee's slated meeting with UTAG and the government side and the NLC still stands. So no matter how it goes, the committee will still engage, because, like it or not, just because the court has made a pronouncement does not mean that even if UTAG were to see to the decision made by the court, some of the challenges facing university teachers generally, which then feeds into their conditions of service particularly, would all go away.
I mean, Dr. Park, it appears to me you've already taken a position on this and firmly in the corner of UTAG, are you not? I've heard you say in the interview we just played that UTAG will not back down until something is done about their concerns. And you said, well, universities should shut down, almost gleefully saying that the fault is on the government side and not theirs.
I say so without fear of favor. I say so as a former member of UTAG, and I speak in that capacity as a citizen, as a member of parliament. That is not the official position of my caucus. That is my personal opinion, and I'm entitled to that.
Stay with me. Now that we know that UTAG may take a decision on in what options they push forward, Kwesi Kwarteng speaks for the Education Ministry and joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Kwarteng, grateful for your time on Top Story. We've just heard the outcome of that court, hearings. The UTAG has now been ordered to go back to the classroom. Safe to say the Education Ministry expects UTAG back in the classrooms as soon as maybe immediately tomorrow morning?
Evans, can you come again?
I mean, I'm saying you're aware of the court directive to UTAG.
Yes, please.
I mean, so the Education Ministry is expecting UTAG back in the classrooms when?
I'm sure, like we all know, the court made a decision, and of course, court decision usually takes effect as at when the judge pronounces a judgment. So, as to where the ruling takes effect, definitely is the discretion of the court, and I'm sure it's clear for all of us. And then I believe that our professors of law, who definitely were in court, will obviously know when to start. But we believe that certainly as soon as the court makes a decision, it takes effect from when the decision has been made. Yesterday,
UTAG were clear that government, although the courts twice directed that you should try and resolve this out of court, government, they allege, deliberately did not even reach out to talk because you were waiting for this order. You are not being acting in good faith. What's your reaction to that?
I'm sure such comments will only be prejudicial to the very ruling of the court, because in other words, that will suggest that some way government knew what the judge was going to do, and that will be unfair, and in a larger extension, it will be scandalous to the very integrity of the court that we all uphold. I believe that we were engaging UTAG at different levels. A lot of our engagements were behind the scenes, as we all know. Of course, there were some that we also brought to the public domain. I recall the last time we met Vice Chancellor Ghana, for instance. But at some point, we felt that we needed to vary our tactics, meet some of the influencers within the UTAG fraternity at individual levels. And so, yes, that was done. Of course, it may be that we may not have necessarily made them en masse or en bloc, but it doesn't necessarily suggest that government did not meet them. Government was having engagement with them at individual level and also en masse.
I mean, formally, when the court directed that trial out of court settlement twice, did government reach out to meet? Was there an actual sit-down formal conversation?
Yes. I recall even preceding this ruling, and even the last one. We recall on that even fateful Thursday, I think on the 10th, when the parties went to court, we met even earlier in the morning around 8 a.m. And I think we left the premises around 11:12, and then we all proceeded to the court for the for the court hearing around 1 p.m. Even on that fateful day, parties met. Before even that film, I think the Tuesday to that day to the parties had met. So I really disagree with the position that government did not extend any hand or any invitation to UTAG to engage. If you recall, even the Minister for Education had even led a lot of engagements with UTAG at different levels, including even moving beyond the National Executive Officer to meet UTAG, the neck of UTAG. So I'm really very surprised that the impression is being probably presented as though government never wanted.
UTAG says they want $2,080 entry for the entry level lecturers. They also say that in all this, government has not even made an offer, a counter offer at all. Is that the case?
You see, that's why I've always said that it all boils down to the miseducation somewhere that has been put into the public. I mean, it's clear. If you look at the decision that the National Labour Commission had already made, which it sought to enforce at the court today, that parties on strike are unable to negotiate, and that is within the framework of the law. I'm not sure the suggestion is that the government probably should have neglected the position of the law and to negotiate. So government position was clear, and National Labour Commission had already affirmed that. And I'm sure today the judge also affirmed that we are unable to negotiate, and everything, all our grievances, all our claims, all our demands, however legitimate or otherwise that they may be, it should be how do you call it, engaged within the framework.
Okay,
of
so
the
that,
law.
that offers that offers some clarity. So government position along has been, we can negotiate with you whilst you're still on strike.
That is the position of the law, of which government sought to protect.
So now that they've been called, ordered back, if they indeed, well, they are considering the options as we speak, if they indeed decide to appeal and not go back and ask for a stay, the status quo will maintain. You drag this out until they go back to the classroom.
Evans, I do not think lecturers do want to necessarily drag this matter. I, together with the Minister of Education, at least I've had the opportunity to be with a lot of engagement with UTAG. And I see that at every point they've demonstrated good faith in resolving this matter. They've been forthright, they've been very committed to addressing this whole strike saga. And so I do not feel that they may want to construe this verdict in any bad faith. I believe that, they have demonstrated their resolve to addressing this issue. And so I feel that they, as professors of law, also want to contact this issue within the framework of the law. So I don't envisage such coming. What I believe is that I believe our professors of law will respect the laws of the land. And, of course, respecting the laws of the land will mean that they call off the strike and negotiate with government. When government has demonstrated.
Well, that is just one of the outcomes. The other outcome is they could appeal or ask for a stay. But let me ask you substantively. It's been 36 days since the universities, of course, were left without lecturers with the strike. The call is that shut down the universities and until this is resolved. Is the Education Ministry been entertaining that?
When it comes to matters on shutting down the universities, if you look at the law of the statutes that establish the university, it's very clear. A lot of them, even beyond the fact that they're silent on this, when it comes to clear provisions on this, is shutting down schools and all academic decisions or all consequential decisions relative to academic issues are literally done by the Universities Council.
Yeah, so the autonomy is there, but as you are a major, I'm asking you your view as a major stakeholder. You are the Education Ministry as a major stakeholder. Wouldn't it be prudent to consider those calls that say, what do you make of that view? Is that a prudent way to approach this by the university authorities?
Evans, I am very sure the framers of this, a lot of these university statutes envisage all these things. And it is the more reason why they felt like those powers should be left for our Universities Council. Of course, I'm sure when these engagements come off, as Education Ministry, we may have to also probably, make our voices or opinions heard. But it does not rest on us to make such decisions. Those decisions are clearly in the university statutes that they ought to be taken by the Universities Council. But of course, when such consequential decisions are made, I'm sure when we read it, we'll have such conversation. But for now, it is not within our remit or our powers to make such decisions.
Christian, I'm grateful that you joined me. Mr. Park, quick 30 seconds to you. You've just heard the Education Ministry's position on this matter. So long as the university lecturers remain on strike, government will not negotiate and will not make a counter-offer. Quick reaction to that. Hello, Dr. Park.
Hello?
Yes, very quickly. We just had the Education Ministry PRO say government position is clear. So far as the lecturers remain on strike, government will not negotiate with them. Government will not make a counter-offer.
Well, we wait to see how it plays out. If that is the posture of government, as we said earlier, the university teachers are meeting, and we would get to hear their response.
Of course we will. I'm grateful, Dr. Pakte, member of the Education Committee in Parliament. News Night starts in a minute.
Masa, yet two unlimited calls. Vodafone Red, so you know here. Jack, me too. No expiry with Vodafone Red. Yes, *200# huh? I bab the move when you be what? Vodafone Red, no lie. Cocraft me top man to you because I call browse it. Vodafone Red *200#. Assist them. See,